A glimpse into Chad Boocs life. Chad Errol Booc was born on April 17th of 1955. 21 years later, in 2016, he received a bachelor's degree in computer science and graduated cum laude in the University of the Philippines, Diliman. After graduating, he joined the Alternative Learning Center for Agricultural and Livelihood Development, also known as ALCADEV. As a volunteer teacher, ALCADEV is a Lumad indigenous school in Surigao del Sur. From then on, he continued to become a volunteer teacher for students as he taught mathematics and science. When Chad Booc was an undergraduate student, he started to become an activist. In 2014, Chad Booc took part in a demonstration at President Benigno Aquino III's State of the Nation address in Batasang, Pambansa. Chad Booc first became aware of the indigenous people's suffering in 2015, and he joined the group's demonstrations in Manila, which marked the completion of the walk from Mindanao to Manila to protest the injustices they had undergone at the hands of the government forces. Chad Booc joined the indigenous peoples on their way back after the staging of the Malikbayan protest in 2016 and started teaching at Alcatev. Through his years of teaching as a volunteer teacher, he taught students from different areas of the country. As he taught more students under ALCADEV, he taught children to be independent and to raise the next generation of leaders. Chad Booc taught students in a newly created Bakwit School, which acted as a temporary learning center for students in indigenous communities who had escaped the war between government forces and communist rebels in 2020. As Chad Booc began protesting and advocating as an activist, his actions began gaining the attention of government forces. Chad Booc was also one of the people who signed the 24th petition against the anti-terror law. Chad Booc has been red tagged multiple times because of his activism. Accusations were made about him because of his activism. He has also been arrested multiple times, one of which was because he participated in a protest during July of 2017. Chad Booc, along with four others, went to Davao de Oro to survey and scan the areas of nomad schools. However, on that day, February 24th of 2022, the five were killed in a so-called encounter with government forces. Multiple allegations were made against Chad Booc and the four others. However, statements made by Tabor Schools Network Cebu denied these accusations as they were only doing their jobs as teachers. Chad Booc lived his life as a volunteer Lumad teacher and an activist fighting for his rights. The devastating reality is that not much information has been released to the public about what had happened during the day of the so-called encounter. The killing of Chad Booc and another volunteer teacher in the encounter with the AFP appalled many educators, considering that two of the five that were slain in the encounter were volunteer indigenous teachers. What will happen to those who will serve for the next generations? Many Lumad teachers, environmental and human rights activists are currently being red tagged by the government for doing what they do. Multiple Lumad schools have been red tagged and have forced Lumad children to not have access to education. If education is a human right, then why are others losing their lives by simply fighting for what should be accessible in the first place? The lack of education in Lumad areas and the mistreatment of indigenous people should be addressed by everyone. Let us hold those who are responsible for the suffering of the Lumad people accountable. Let us continue to remember Chad Booc's story and all the services he did for the people in the Lumad community.